Well, here we go. It's the night walker out. It's going to say on the prowl, but that makes it seem really weird. Just out for a walk. I'm trying to talk some about the same issues that we've been talking about for a while, but with a slightly different spin, I hope this time. Plus, it's snowing, and the landscape is... it's unbelievable, actually. And I love it. So, yeah, I thought now would be a good time to record and just kind of see what's up. Yeah, kind of magical, isn't it? What a great time. Normally Denmark's in this weird zone where we just get rain and it's a bit cold and then it rains. Like even in the winter, it's like, oh, it's rare you get this kind of snow. So I'm excited. I love it. Let's talk a little bit about the last video that I put on when I was at home. Because it kind of got me thinking about a bunch of things. Most notably, I think, making a Patreon account and seeing what could go on it. I've got a couple of different ideas for it. So I guess what I'm really sort of checking up and seeing is, you know, if these are good ideas, if they make sense to you guys, or if they're terrible. And just kind of what the feeling is. I'm pretty sure by now anyway, I'll probably make an account and we'll see what happens. I have no idea how many people would want to support me in all the crazy shit that I'm doing. But I think it's important to probably just say, even if it's like 2 people, then that's probably still a good start, you know. Like I don't want to have high expectations, just like for these videos. I think it's important to just say, I'm just doing them for the sake of doing them, you know. And you guys have already been, it's a really crazy how many people are interacting, in my opinion. Like I know the viewership isn't crazy, but just from my point of view, I'm really blown away by how many of you guys are sort of interested in what I'm saying, you know? So I just appreciate that. I think it's fucking cool. Now, for a future Patreon, I had kind of a couple of main ideas. Now, sadly, they don't exactly necessarily capture the same audience, but who cares? One thing that I wanted to do was obviously publish some of the stuff that I'm writing and publish concept art and other kind of things like that. And kind of, you know, try and generate some interest in my story and, you know, where I wanted to go and how I envision everything. And I think just that could be really cool. And I don't know, I tried to actually look into and Google how successful are, you know, Patreons for writing projects or game projects or whatever the case. And it's just, it doesn't seem like some people seem to be wildly successful and some people, you know, it's kind of hard to get off the ground. So again, who knows? You know, I don't think maybe that's the most important thing, but I tried to do some research just to get like a sense of where I should put my expectations. Now, yeah, and I don't know if there are any bad moves to be made there. The one thing that I sort of saw a couple of people mention was this idea that you've got to be careful that you don't publish things on your Patreon that then could be a problem if you later wanted to copyright things. Like, I don't see how that could be a problem. Like, surely the fact that you're publishing it on your own Patreon means you own it. But I guess I'll ask somebody who knows more about this than me to just verify that, because that's like the only thing that I guess would suck is if you undermined your own future chances of publishing or doing something with the work, you know, which is after all kind of part of the point here. Wow, this is so cool. The other part, obviously, that I think could be fun and that I hope I can do a good job at is actually creating a bit of a, call it a tutorial, call it like a video series on casting. And because actually over the years, like a couple of different groups have sort of asked me in different moments to do this. And I think I've always shied away from it. And I'm trying to think about why exactly. I think the one of the issues is, like, I always felt like, I wonder how many people even care about this. Like, my sense was always that the interest in those kind of videos would just be very low, as in how many people out there really exist that want to be casters. But I kind of think now maybe those videos could just be fun in another way. Like they might have another purpose, even if you're not watching them to become a caster, but just to, as like a general insight and a look into how some things work and all the rest of it. So yeah, I thought it could be fun. And if you are out there and you're thinking, actually, that would be really fun, that would be really cool, then I think I have a reasonable claim to be somewhat successful at getting people into this industry. I've done it, I think, more than most people realize. But I have a really important rule, which is I don't try to... Oh, hold on, it's train time. How perfect. I have a rule, which is when I help out people in this industry, whether that's on like a small or a big scale, I try not to like, claim that as like now, those people are like my people. Because they're not. If I pick up the phone and call someone and say, hey, I think you should give this person a chance, then that could be like a 5-minute phone call for me. And that person will then go on to do thousands of hours of work. And that's what's going to make them successful, right? Like not my 5-minute phone call. But in terms of making 5-minute phone calls, I think I have a pretty good track record, to be honest. So I must know something about spotting people and kind of getting people a little bit further than, or maybe, I don't know if it's even further, but maybe quicker than they would have otherwise got there, which all things being equal might be a good thing, So yeah, I think I've got something to offer in that sense. And then I think it's going to be a lot of my thoughts about, what is casting and what I think works and how I think, especially I want to talk about how to find out what kind of caster you want to be. I think is really important. I think there are some real actionable steps you could take to try and discover that for yourselves, so that you're not just kind of like walking in there and saying, I want to do casting. It's like, yeah, that's great, but what's your take on it, So I think there are ways to try and think about that. And then I think I want to try and make some videos about like, what's your expectation be? Like, what is it like from like a personal, social point of view, from like, obviously I've talked already about job security, but just in general, I think there are a lot of things to consider that might be worth documenting and putting in a video and kind of, leaving it out there for people. So I don't know how many people would subscribe to a Patreon based on that kind of content, but that's what we're going to find out. So, we'll see how it plays out. And it'll probably be something that I just I expect broadly mention, I've got to find a line. I've seen other people do this successfully that always make it sound kind of casual in a way, and I like that feeling, because anytime you mention your Patreon, right, you are sort of telling people, hey, I need your support, right? And I guess there's nothing wrong with that, but some people I've noticed have become really good at sort of saying, if you want to support me, here's a link to my Patreon, blah, 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 and they just kind of keep talking like it's, it's a casual sort of thing. So I'll try and be one of these people. Hold on. Look at this. Little bridge going under the railway. Good times. Really good times. So yeah, I suspect in the future I'll be mentioning that a little bit every once in a while, go follow my Patreon if you want to support me, that kind of thing. Yeah, I think a position that I would like to be in is one in which, if I don't get hired for events, I could throw a lot more time into the building of this other project. Like that'd be really cool to me if I could. And I don't think the Patreon will support all of that on its own. That would, I think, require me to probably prove the project a lot more. I don't think people are going to subscribe to the Patreon just on, my crazy thoughts alone. But I think in the future I will be able to substantiate this project a lot more and kind of like show you guys more of a frame for what I'm trying to do. And we'll see what happens at that point in time. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Apart from that, I'm trying to think if there's any big updates in my life that are currently sort of worth talking about. I guess not really. I'm just kind of soldiering on and trying to, I don't want to say make the most of it. That sounds so depressing. Truth is, for the last couple of weeks, I've been really, really massively enjoying the writing of this story. And every time I sit down, I feel like there's like a whole flood of like cool shit that I want to add to the story. And not as in like, you know, not necessarily like new areas or elements to the story, but they're like things that I just wasn't sure how to fit in or how to like, you know, actually like all the way lock into like how it makes sense for me in my head and how I can sort of explain that. So I've just been enjoying that so much. Like it's been so cool to try to do that more and to just kind of enjoy that process. But on the esports side, I mean, things are still a little bit slow. But to be honest, I don't think that's going to change because we're in November, December now. There really aren't any more events, so probably not worth updating on in the future because it's going to be 25 before things start to kick off again. But I think by then also, like, you know, the landscape will be so different. There'll be so many more events, and you know, some of these walking videos hopefully will be in other countries and just generally kind of get back on the road. I really look forward to that. So yeah, I think that's probably all there is to be said at the moment. Enjoy the view one last time. I don't know if you guys can hear the sound of the snow. Like that whole walking in thick snow is just the best feeling ever. Wonderful. So that's it. I think that's it for the update. Once again, I appreciate you guys commenting and interacting, and I'll do my best to read everything. And if you contact me about wanting to be in, you know, a part of this project, the writing side of it, or the game development, art, whatever side of it, I will absolutely take a look at anything that you've produced in the past. If I don't immediately jump on and say, ooh, let's work together, it's probably not going to be a reflection on the quality of your work or anything. It'll be a worry that I am putting people to work without a really great sort of scope for what this person is doing and like how they're helping the project. Like I don't want to put people to work and then find out later that, oh, you just spent a lot of time working on some 3D asset and it's no longer required because, you know, something's changed. Like I want to be really sure that I'm not doing that. So yeah, if I'm hesitant, it's probably because of that. I'm trying to be really cautious about that kind of situation. But having said all of that, if you have skills, I think especially if you're like a concept artist right now would be crazy nice. My budget for hiring people is probably non-existent. But if you send me your stuff, I will remember who you are and I will find a way to get a budget to pay people, because I do want to pay people for doing these kind of things. I think it's essential. So if you contact me, I will find a way to pay people for it, and then we'll see what happens from there. So don't hesitate to reach out, and don't be too alarmed if, you know, there's a bit of a delay in things moving forward. It is, after all, kind of a one-man show at the moment, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I can't think of anything else to say, so one last view. Thank you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.